I think that's so important for them to see us have our own passions and lives and other things that bring us joy. Welcome to Mom Meets World, a podcast talking all things motherhood, friendships, and life. We're your hosts, Alaina Brookmeyer
and Peyton Saraiva. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's dive right in.
Hey, y'all.
Hey. How are you guys doing? Welcome back to another episode of Mom Meets World. Really fun conversation Alaina and I talk about today. Kind of debrief on all things Halloween, the seasons of change. We're all kind of going into a next chapter of the year, final quarter, if you will. And our illnesses are here, so bear with us as we have some funny little coughs. The heart of the episode today, we kind of talk about our identities outside of being moms, but also just like what life looks like, you know, as we change and evolve as women, as moms, as partners, and kind of like peel the layers back on the feelings that we have when people ask us, what do you do outside of Chloe's time? Or how are you? How is your week? Most of the time, I think we answer as, oh, we're good, Cooper this or Chloe that. And we kind of talk about things that matter to us. And I think it's a really good reminder for all of our listeners that it's important to kind of reflect on. And if you don't know who you are now, hopefully we give you guys some tips and tricks on what that looks like.
Love it. It was such a good convo as always. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right. So first of all, I miss you so much, but also fill me in on what's been going on in your life because I feel like we haven't caught up like truly in a few days, which feels like forever. So fill me in.
I know. Well, it's been a wonderful week. I think I'm fighting some of those preseason changes, like the weather changes, sicknesses. We just been a little bit run down, and I think it coming off of a really great Halloween week. So yeah, it was a good one. We went to Sydney last weekend, had a huge weekend, and then came back, jumped right into the weekly grind. Tuesday, I had a group of friends over to carve pumpkins and kind of like get into the holiday spirit. And I think I've mentioned this once or twice, but like Halloween is really developing down here. It's not necessarily historically like a huge holiday. So it was fun because one of my other girlfriends down here is American. And then we had a couple friends over who were Australian who had never carved pumpkins before. And fun fact for all my American listeners, in Australia, all the pumpkins are edible. And you eat them all the time throughout the season. So you don't like the red trick-or-treating pumpkins are like in a special area at the grocery store, and they're only Halloween American pumpkins. Like that's the tag on them. You don't use them for anything else besides like Halloween stuff, which is traditional. In America, you do the same. But here, the pumpkins we eat all year round are like Kent pumpkins or butternut pumpkins or all these different things. So anyways, they didn't know what to expect with carving inside of it. So it was really fun for us to like all be outside and like show them that they're hollow and then like cutting the lid off of them. And that was a really fun thing that we kind of got to do as a group. I cooked a big dinner. We had some fun Halloween treats. And then following to Halloween a couple days later, we had the same group plus a couple other families meet up at our house, all got all dressed up and trick-or-treating. And I have one cute little story to share. So Cooper is obsessed with fire trucks and all like emergency vehicles, and he wanted to be a fireman. So we went to this emergency vehicles day. He got a hat. I really did like a makeshift costume. It was super fun. And then I was like, okay, Cooper, so mama will be a Dalmatian because we have zero costumes down here. I had a polka dot dress and I was like, look, let's just think on the fly. I'll be a Dalmatian, whatever. So then I said to Cooper, all right, so buddy, so daddy is going to be a fireman like you. So I had envisioned Chase dressing up just like Cooper. I got the hat, got all the things. And Cooper looks at me and goes, no, daddy, meow, meow. Daddy's a cat. And I was like, what? And he goes, fireman helps cat up the tree, which in a lot of the books and movies, the firemen bring the ladder to the tree, they climb up, grab the cat, rescue it. So it was really funny because Chase is such a good trooper, like such a good green flag, because Chase like drew on the little cat face. He wore the ears, all black. And he was like one of the only dads in our little group that dressed up. Granted, as we walked around, every other dad was dressed up, but he like took one for the team. He looked as cute as a button. Cooper was super cute and loved trick-or-treating with all of our friends. So that was great. It was such a nice time. It was just a bizarre thing because we were trick-or-treating we said, let's meet up at 5. When in America, it's autumn, right? So everyone goes trick-or-treating when it's dark outside. It's kind of part of it. All the lights are on. All the pumpkins are carved out. It's summer here. And so it is daylight until 8 p.m., 9 p.m., so it was really weird trick-or-treating in the middle of the daytime. Everyone was home and done and dusted by 7 o'clock. Like it was such a surreal experience. That was something that I did take away going, this is kind of weird that we're like trick-or-treating in the daytime and like all the kids are trick-or-treating at 3:00, which is super bizarre. So, anyways,
It's
that
good
was
that you guys
me.
still made it happen, though, you know?
Yeah, there was like 150 kids in total around the neighborhood out and going. So like it was really,
How
really great. It was
fun.
so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Tell me.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, you know, traditional Halloween over here. We got Chloe to wear her costume, her Elsa costume. So if anyone follows us on Instagram, Mom Meets World Pod, you for sure saw some pictures of her, or my account especially because I post her nonstop. But like her little Elsa costume was just so cute, and of course I let her wear it all day, not just trick or treating. So yeah, that was just so fun to like watch her just be in the spirit and get to see all the other kids like wear costumes and stuff. We went to our mutual friend Sylvia's, like I said in the last episode. So did some trick or treating with friends and family of hers, and yeah, just like it definitely got darker earlier here,
Yeah.
right? So like we're in fall, so we started trick-or-treating when it was already dark out, and so yeah, we just like tried finding houses that had decorations and looked inviting and went into them, and Chloe was a trooper and didn't get scared. But something exciting that we're starting this that we already started this year, but I want to keep up and hopefully I remember it, is something called the Switch Witch. Have you heard of it before?
Only
Like
through
before
you,
I told you?
Share no.
Yeah. Okay, so I hadn't either, and my sister-in-law actually sent it to me like 2 days before Halloween, so I was all over Amazon Prime next day delivery for this. So essentially what it is you tell the kiddo there's a switch witch. So after they're done trick-or-treating, they pick out however many pieces of their favorite candies to keep, and then the rest they keep in the bag, and they leave their trick-or-treating bag with all the candy they're going to give to the switch witch outside of the front door. In this case, we did the back door. And then they go to bed, and then when they wake up, all the candy's gone and there's a toy there instead, or whatever else you want to put there, right? So we got Chloe on the theme of Frozen, like Magnetile set of
Yay.
Frozen. So she's obsessed. There's little like reusable stickers of Elsa and Anna and all that good stuff. So that really worked out. She did not question like, where's my candy though? She just like was like, okay, cool. So that was amazing. Other than that, like you mentioned, tis the season for sickness. So I've just been battling like a little something for, it's been like over 10 days now. It's been almost 2 weeks, and I still have like a tickle in my throat. Let me just get that out. And I went to the doctor the other day because like in the previous episode with Rachel, right, we were like, okay, we need to follow through with helping ourselves and our little ones, not just like everyone else in the world, right? Like really make sure that you take care of yourself just as much as you take care of other people. So I was just like, okay, I need to just go to the doctors and just get a confirmation of what's going on with me, because I never have something linger this much. It's so annoying. And so it's just like, she listened to me. I went to the doctor and she's like, okay, let me prescribe you some of that good old cough syrup that all the rappers rap about, and
some scissor
and a little inhaler, which I've never used. Oh my God. I think I told you this. So when I opened the inhaler to use for the first time at home,
I'm glad you're sharing.
I'm just like, I'm like, why isn't this working? Because the pharmacist was like, okay, you need to spray it in the air to make sure you see it come out before you like inhale it. Make sure it's working. I'm like, okay. So I kept trying to spray it. I'm like, dang, dude, I don't see anything. Is it just like super light mist or what? And then I was like trying to spray it in my mouth, and I'm like, nothing's coming out. I'm spraying so many times. I'm like, how many times does it take for it to be like activated or whatever? So then turns out I had the cap on. I'm like, I don't know if the inhaler comes with a cap. So there's a teeny tiny dot like in the middle of the cap that I thought that's where the spray comes out. I don't know, dude. So I just wasted so much of this medicine, but it's still coming out. It's fine. I'm surviving.
I think you get 100 sprays per canister.
Oh my God. I'm like almost out, I think. So that's fun. Tis the season, like I said. So I'm just glad that Ben and Chloe didn't get sick though. You're getting sick like starting today, kind of, right?
Yeah, so Coop started to have a little bit of a snotty nose, I think, on Friday, which I think makes sense. We had kids around all week. Later nights than usual routines, etc., daycare. So, and to be fair, we have not, knock on wood, gotten sick at all in the past 6 months. So I feel like we're due for an illness or something like that. But yeah, Cooper came with a snotty nose. And then I've been, just tending to him a bit more so. But I have a sore throat. I don't have any snotty nose or runny nose or anything. But Cooper's been like sleeping until 7:30 or 8ish. He like put himself down for his nap this morning at 11, like mama nap time. And yesterday's nap was about 3.5 hours. So I can tell that he's listening to his body and really sleeping. He's a big sleep kid. I have to laugh because the daycare teacher will be like, yeah, after lunch today, Cooper like looked at me and pointed to his bed. And so I put him down while all the other kids were playing. And Cooper went by himself to sleep. And I was like, yeah, he normally naps between like 11 and 11:30. And I'm at preschool. They do naps at 12:30. So I think he was just got really tired and like will put himself down. And she goes, yeah. And I woke him up at the 2 hour mark. What do you want? And I'm like, to be honest, like we just kind of let him sleep. So anyways, I just had to laugh because she's very much like, yeah, he like asks to go to bed. And I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, that's kind of our kid. Sorry about that. But
man, I wish Chloe's not that girl. But yeah, it's good that he is listening to his body in that way.
Okay, yeah. So, and also on that note, tell me a little bit more. I know you guys are doing some stuff in your backyard. I know some stuff's happening there. Fill me in. What's happening?
Yeah. It's pretty exciting. So right now it's like totally looks like a disaster outside. And my other friend actually texted because I sent them my girlfriends in the Bay Area a picture of what's going on. So she's like, it gets worse before it gets better. I'm like, I know. So essentially we're redoing like the main paved area in our backyard, and our backyard's pretty big and I love it. So then we're getting kind of like creative with it since we'll have a blank slate, at least in that big main like rectangle area of just a bunch of pavers. So we're going to do a little design situation. And when I say we are having help from an outside paid source because I will not be doing all of that manual labor. Like it'll be so sore and just dead, and it'll take like a year and a half to do. So we are getting that help, which is so amazing. And yeah, so hopefully it'll be all done by like, I don't even know, maybe next weekend. We'll see. It also depends on like materials and stuff. So I just kind of get like excited about this stuff because just like the excitement of redecorating, like whether it's interior design or like outside, just like home improvement stuff really gets me going. Yeah. And so I wanted to do a little shout out for like our moment this week of this. It's actually a service, not necessarily a product, but they're called Havenly. Have you heard of them before I told you about them?
I think I saw a Facebook ad once, but then you told me about them when you started to redo your house. So spill the tea.
Yeah. So when we first moved to this house, which was actually 4 years ago, almost to the day, we had we were very stumped on what to do with our living room situation because like our backyard is fairly spacious, at least in my opinion, but then the inside of our house is like not so much. But so we didn't have like a whole lot of space to do a lot with. So I was just like, what can we do to like make this the TV wall and this side the couch wall, blah, blah, blah. And I was just super stumped. So I found out about the service Havenly, and it's online interior decorating. And like there's so many different interior decorators who you can choose from, and it displays all their portfolios and styles, and you get to choose who you want to work with, and it says when they're available and like all this stuff. And they have different like package options if you want the basic one or whatever. So that was like awesome to find them. And not only do they have that service of like communication and like them essentially designing your personal space, but also like they have their own online kind of like not storefront because they don't have their own products, but like I love if I'm looking for a rug or something, I can trust that they have like good styles in it. So I'll kind of, So that's kind of fun for me. And so that gets the wheels turning for other stuff. We were going to use them for the kitchen, but we ended up just doing our own thing. And yeah, so highly recommend if anyone is like me who gets kind of stumped on like, you want it to look good, but don't fully trust your vision or whatever. You just want like that confirmation. Yes. They're awesome. Oh, what about you? You like home stuff?
I do. Home decor, home interior design is something that I really, really have a lot of joy in. And this is just kind of like my moment of the week is actually we're really, really investing in our bedroom. And so like something like my love language, and this kind of does tie into our identity chat from a little bit later on, but I love to host people. So something that we've done is we've really prioritized our guest bedroom, our downstairs granny flat, / like casita thing, as well as like Cooper's room. And I like want everyone else to feel really comfortable. So thus far, Chase and I have had a pretty average room. We invest in really good quality sheets and all that sort of stuff. But as far as like our really good quality bed frame and nightstands and everything, I'm really excited. We're kind of taking it up a notch as our gift to each other for Christmas, but a bit early. So there's a brand called yeah, it's called Koala, and it's where we got our
Mm-hmm.
couch, but they've got a brand new bed frame that we just got, and I'm so
Ooh.
excited. It's like a really beautiful oak, and they've got matching nightstands that are kind of attached to it, so it's one big unit. And Chase and I are like we are ride or die king size bed, whether it's our
Mm-hmm.
dog Maverick or it's Cooper or another kid. We just like the space in our king size bed, so I'm really
Yes.
excited for this new bed frame to come in. Again, it's got like two built-in nightstands on the side. They match, but not too matchy. And then we always do something like a big contrast with our dresser, slash
Okay.
like you know like our clothes dresser. And we have like a big mirror that we're looking at getting. So I'm really excited to have our room ready to go going into the summer. We can see the ocean. I feel so spoiled, but we can see the ocean from our bedroom, and the height of this new bed frame makes it so like when we wake up and our blinds open, we can see the ocean. And it's
Oh
just
my
like a dream of
gosh.
mine in my life to be able to see the beach from my house. And I don't know how long we're going to be in this house. We don't own it. But all I want to do is take full advantage of every day that we're here and we're in this home. And that's my big, exciting, big purchase as a family. So I'll link it in our show notes. The brand is Koala. We also have our couch from them. So they're a true and trusted company. But yeah, that's what's going on with us.
Love it. And then is that like only in Australia or is it an Australian brand?
I believe so, but they do international shipping, but it is
Nice.
koala.com.au. So, yeah, definitely not like I guess, the best international link, but for all my Aussie friends, ride or die. And I can let you guys know, and I'll link if they have an American showroom for you as well.
Yeah, love it. Cute. And then, so speaking of like, we both really get joy out of doing some decorating and like research, right? And like finding just good quality things that fit for our homes and like our family and our space. I
Yeah.
feel like that kind of ties in into our main topic today, which is just like finding out and like establishing our identity as who we are internally as women, aside from being moms. Like, obviously, motherhood takes up a huge like part of our lives and is like our
Yeah.
pretty much primary role. But this kind of got inspired from a conversation I was having with my one of my other best friends, Julia, who lives out in Miami. So shout out to you if you're listening to this. And so we were just kind of chatting of like, because she's not a mama herself yet, but she has other mama friends like me, and like there's so many of those different friendships out there. So it's just like she was sharing that it's just really special to have our friendship and communication not always revolve around me being a mom and like my
Yeah.
kid, you know. She obviously loves Chloe and loves having me be a mom and like appreciates that
Yeah.
side of me, but she also doesn't want to be the person that has me only talk about, you know, being a mom and my kid and stuff. So I feel like that was just like good feedback for me, because I'm like, you're right. I don't want my whole life and my whole identity to revolve around being a mom, but it's just like interesting to kind of take a step back out of your current like role and being a mom and be like, who am I outside of being a mom? Because I feel like that's important to have other parts to
Absolutely.
your identity. What do you think?
Yeah. No, 100%. I think the term identity for me is ever evolving and ever changing. I think that,
Yeah.
and that's one of the most amazing parts of life is you can change who you are, or what you identify with, or how you identify in the world over time. But I do think it's really important to sit back and reflect. And as we started kind of outlining this episode, I was chatting with Chase about how at the current day to day, Chase is involved in every single aspect of from dinner to bedtime and all that, which puts us at 7 o'clock. And then, before we know it, the night's over. And then we're looking at the 7 day week and going, wow, we actually don't have any time to do something for ourselves. And I have a few friends down here whose spouses, like, they pick a sport to go do. So they have 2 nights a week that they are, I'm not going to be at home. I'm going to go do this AFL league, which I'm very excited. Chase is joining an AFL league,
Oh,
which is an
cool.
Australian football league, which is amazing, super excited. But it's just kind of like reminded me that it's really important for us to go and find those things that make us happy outside of parenthood. So whether that's finding a sport, finding a niche or a hobby, and I do think this goes deeper than just like one night a week. But like,
Yeah.
who is Alaina as a human. Before we had kids, I love to go rock climbing. I love to go hiking. Friendships have always been a core value of mine. I value my friendships quite deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm really thankful that I have a lot of my good mom friends down here, have kids around the same age as Cooper. But my two best friends in Australia, outside of my mom's circle, both don't have children, and their names are Britt and Meg. And they never make me feel guilty about having to, like, change my plans around due to Cooper. Or, like, for example, we were in Sydney and we had plans to go out to dinner Friday night because we were in downtown Sydney. But instead of feeling bad, we're like, let's get pizzas, takeaway. Let's go grab a couple bottles of wine. Let's head back to the apartment. My friend Britt realized it was 8 o'clock, so she jumped in and started making Cooper pasta.
Aww.
And I got to just tell her about me and my life and work, and, like, kind of me figuring out who I am down in Narooma without being the brewer's wife and without being Cooper's mom. Because as of right now, that is kind of my identity. And I like that, I would say, most of the time. But I'm now really I'm really involved in my new job within the real estate agency. But I'm now finding different communities of people to spend time with and finding out who I am. And I'm really enjoying that. And I feel like most days I look in the mirror and I'm kind of getting reintroduced into a new version of myself, because these new people I'm hanging out with are teaching me different values that they find appreciation with. And just, like, I don't know, I'm really enjoying this chapter of my life, whether that's 30, but, like, this identity of who I am is definitely changing. And I think I'm way different today than I was even a year ago. And I'm embracing that and thankful for that. I mean, I'm aging and in some ways, but in other ways I feel as young as ever.
Yeah. Oh, totally. That for sure resonates with me. And, like, I think kind of, I like what you said about it evolving your identity, because, like, our life is forever changing and we're all forever in different chapters of our lives. And so we will change with it. We'll roll with the punches. And I feel like, kind of like what you said of even just a year ago, we were so different. And, like, early motherhood, that first year or two of our kiddos' lives are, like, I don't know, I felt like such a different person than I am today. And I'm still different than who I was 5 years ago.
100%.
And that's fine. I totally accept it and I love it. I love who I am today. But I also do love that I'm learning and growing and becoming a better version of myself each day. And yeah, I was just, like, kind of reflecting on that motherhood did kind of take over my life the first year or two, especially the first year. And especially, like, I've explained on here, my troubles with breastfeeding. That was, like, so consuming physically and mentally. Just, like, it was so hard. And so I think that kind of just took up all of my brain space, all my energy, and literally my time. So I think I didn't have enough of myself to give to anything else. And I think that's so fair for that time period. And, like, for anyone else, like, throughout any different, like, parts of our motherhood, like I said early on, those times take a lot of us, and for a reason. So that's totally understandable if motherhood takes over early on. But I think it's important to try not to let it, right? Like, try to have some boundaries and, like, do a little bit of self-reflecting. I think that's kind of important, at least for myself, because I don't want to just be researching, like, baby or kid stuff on my free time and, like, always just cleaning Chloe's room or her bottles or whatever. Like, I still want to do and be interested in other things. So I think that's been, like, my kind of takeaway of, like, finding my identity and, like, what brings me joy and, like, what are my hobbies and anything that, like, I might want to do outside of being with Chloe, right? I think that's kind of the true testament. Like, what would you do on your free time? Like, what do you do on your free time? And so it's just interesting to think about.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think hindsight's obviously 20, like, you can always look back and say, I would do this differently. And, like, my experience is we want to have another child. And I realized that, like, that newborn cocoon and that first year of isolation and change and all that can't exist when we have another baby, because we're going to have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, running around. And so, like, looking back on that Peyton version, like, that new, like, I did the best I could with the resources I had at that time. But I think I look back and I look at, a friendship that I lost throughout that process, and I do more in the loss of that friendship. I think that's, there should have been a little bit more grace on both ends in that time frame. But I think the version of myself now is thankful that I've kind of come out of that, and I've risen and I've learned who I want to be and who I can be and what I'll accept in friendships and what I would give to other moms in that time frame. But I think it's really fun now that Cooper's independent and now that he's, he's not as fragile, and we all know that. And it's so much easier said now that he's 2.5 and he wants me to throw him in the air and he's doing backflips off the couch. And so like he literally is like a little rubber mat now. But I do find a lot of excitement where I go somewhere and I don't think exactly what Cooper's doing in that moment. And I think that's really evolved in the past 6 months. I don't have so much fear and anxiety about that, or those intrusive thoughts are definitely to the side now. But I love, like, this podcast has been something that's for me and not for anyone else. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love the identity that I've created. Just like saying that we've stuck with the podcast for over 6 months now, we've got over 25 episodes out. Like, that's an identity part of myself that's changing. I love saying that part of me. I love,
Same.
yeah. And I think, like different hobbies, I sit down, I'm like, oh, what are my hobbies down in Aruma? Or like, what are things I like to do? And I love to go to the beach with my friends. Yes, it is centered around kids, but I actually just like going down and spending time with other women and other people in this area and enjoying nature. So like I used to love hiking, but now I love hiking with my kid, or I love going to the beach with my kid because I see the joy out of him. But my identity will always keep changing. And, right now we don't own our own business per se. And I look forward to owning our own business because that will be a new identity I have. Or, you know, each goal and each chapter of my career is going to keep ticking into a different box. And I like that it's not fully consuming who I am, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. I think like career paths are definitely contributors to our identities, right, as people. And then so for me, like being strictly a stay-at-home mom, essentially, like I have a couple of like training clients, but outside of that, I'm 95% a stay-at-home mom. Like that literally is just who I am, right? So that takes up so much of my time. So it's been a little bit more challenging for me, but because I am a trainer, I think that's been a huge identity for me from even previous from Chloe, right? So like before getting pregnant, I think that that's stuck with me, and I love that. That makes me so excited. And the fact that it can also be things that you can do with your kids, kind of like you taking Cooper and meeting friends at the beach. I can take Chloe to the gym, not necessarily work out with her yet, but
Yeah,
I'm
of
excited
course,
for the
not yet.
future. But like, I am so psyched for that to like evolve into its own thing and hopefully have fitness become a part of Chloe's life too and her identity. It doesn't have to be strictly what I do, but I hope movement in a healthy way will be a part of that. And I think also us having our own identities outside of motherhood is also a good example for the kiddos because they can
Yeah.
see that we have like other things that bring us joy in life, not just them. Like I said, they do. They're a huge
Of
contributor.
course.
We already know this, but like I think that's so important for them to see us have our own like passions and lives and other things that bring us joy. So I'm excited and like for Chloe to continue to witness that. I think that's super important. And
Absolutely.
I think that like if people are, let's say they're kind of stumped, like let's say listeners are listening to this and they're like, well, I don't know who I am without my kid. I don't know who I am without, or like outside of being a mom. Maybe this gets the wheels turning, and that's okay if you don't know, like we don't know right away. And I think it's good to kind of brainstorm and like really think and like hopefully act on what comes to mind too, or explore other hobbies or interests. Like the friend that I got this little inspo from, Julia, she is taking golf lessons with her fiance right now. And I think that's so cute. And she's like wanting to try this out before they get married and like hopefully get kids or have kids in the near future and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of like a little spark to try something new that you haven't tried before. So I think like with us having toddlers now, our 2.5-year-olds, they're more independent. We get more freedom. It's exciting to know that the doors are starting to open as they become more independent. And yeah, I think it's kind of fun.
Absolutely. I mean, my identity, I would say, I would say a good chunk of my life was volleyball. I've played volleyball through high school. I mean, like all the way up. Then I coached. So volleyball was my everyday all the time. And I spent a big chunk of my, I think, time on this planet, like playing the sport or giving back to the sport. And I get excited to have Cooper part of that, but something that I'm noticing even just at this chat, which I think is good to kind of like reflect on even presently, is like, what am I doing right now that I enjoy to do that's, again, not tied with Cooper? And so like there's not a ton of, I would say, like community classes down here, unless you want to spend like $45 on a Pilates class. But I think so. Chase and I are deciding to do 1 or 2 nights a week. Let's say one night each, where we get to kind of do whatever we want. There's no responsibility at home. No dinners covered. Bedtime's covered. Like whatever we feel good about. And Chase, I think, is going to do the AFL league, and I'm going to join a like an indoor workout class. It's like kind of like a group kind of CrossFit training thing, and mostly just to like have the community part of it. To have an hour where we get to go work out. It's right next to the brewery, so we can go after for a drink if we want to. But I think that's going to be something that I look forward to doing, because back before we moved here, Chase and I were avid rock climbers. Twice a week we'd go, and it's a partnership thing, so Chase could climb the wall, I'd belay, and then vice versa. And I really loved that time in our lives. I felt never stronger. I felt better. It was a good release from life. There's no climbing gyms down in our area. We live quite rural, but and no outdoor mountains to do. But I don't know, it just kind of has been something that we both are like, what can we get back to? And as Cooper gets older, he's going to start climbing with us. So when we go back to Arizona for holidays or whatever the future looks like, that's something that we're going to get him in the gym. They can start climbing indoors at 2 years old. And I look forward to doing those sorts of things and challenges together.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something that we have to reflect on early-ish, because like you said, it's evolving and changing, especially as the kiddos grow up. And you've mentioned, I think it was the last episode or maybe the one before, of like, they're going to be 18 before we know it, right? Like they are going to be out of the house, and I'm just like, what do you do then? Right? So it's just like, and you don't have to like have your whole life together. It's not like you're being retired from a mom from that moment forward, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, it's that wake up call that you're not always going to be so hands-on with them. And, you know, it's just, yeah. So I think that's like good to kind of have your guys' schedule of your activities and have that to look forward to, and like be literally physically separated from Cooper, of like, okay, you can just be Peyton in this moment, and like a woman just getting her workout on, having some friends. And I think that's awesome. So I'm excited for you. You don't have to let us know how it goes.
Thanks. I'm super excited for that. And I feel very privileged, and I want to make sure that it's noted that I have a supportive partner that is able to take time within the household and can handle bedtimes and handle bath times and dinner without me there. And I want to like acknowledge the privilege that is. And I know that's not everyone's existence, but I'm very thankful that Chase can handle dinner, bath time, and kick Cooper into bed. And Cooper is so open and receptive to that. I think it just does come with time. And if you're in a spot where you're like, oh my God, I could never leave my child with my partner, just know that like, it does just take a little bit of time. There are definitely seasons where I was over parenting Chase with Cooper, and he had to go, you need to trust that I can handle it. So like there is a little bit of that letting go process. Yeah. And that was definitely like year one. Like I would be like, oh, I can't go out because Chase doesn't know how to do this or that or the other. When in reality, he was fully capable. It was just my mind, my OCD, or my like intrusive thoughts that like created this narrative that he couldn't do it when he was completely capable of doing it all, if that makes sense. So if you are in the weeds of the first year, just trust that it will get better and that you do have something to look forward to outside of yourself. And like the fun parts are, as like, I don't know, there's each stage I think is fun and different, but I'm enjoying Cooper's friendship at the moment. Like he's like communicating. He's kind of like my little buddy now, and it's quite fun to kind of have that little character around. And also I'm able to do things a lot more by myself with him around and not need me as much. So anyways, it's kind of an ever evolving part of life, and that's why I'm excited to have this podcast going from like 2 years on, and hopefully you and I are still around and kicking, chatting through all these things as they get older and all the hard stuff keeps happening. But I like the identity and I like who I am becoming as myself, and I do want to make it clear that like the first year is tricky and like those there are those hard parts, but it's not scary enough that we're not going to do it again. And I do look forward to like having a better idea of what motherhood looks like this next time around, and like how, okay, those the first 6 weeks, those long nights, we'll get through them. The sun does come up, and you do get to those fun little giggle stages and the rolling over and all of that stuff. So for all those people that are in the grinds of it, I know specifically a friend I have in mind who's listening to this, who's in that newborn struggle stage. Like the sun does come out and you'll get through it, and you'll look back and go, damn, I don't remember what it feels like to be that tired, or
Yes.
I don't remember those lonely moments in the middle of the night as hard.
Yes, exactly. Yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Things will forever change. Like when you're in a tough part, just know it's just a chapter, it will pass. And I think that's important to take advantage of other help around you. Like let's say you don't have a supportive partner, and hopefully you do, but we're not as all as fortunate. But like if you have other friends, like your friend Britt, right? She just like stepped in and was just helping out with Cooper. Like that's amazing. So it's just like, if you have anyone like that, like take advantage of the help. It doesn't have to be like fully you having them be babysitters, but like have them come over and just like share that time together. I know for me, I'm always like, I don't want to, it's weird. I'm like, I haven't fully processed this feeling / thought in my head of like my other friends who aren't mamas. Sometimes I feel like I almost like don't want to burden them with my life or like whatever I have going on with Chloe. It's weird. Do you ever like experience that? I just feel like I kind of reserve that part of me because I don't want them to like acknowledge or see as much of a disconnect in our friendship. I don't know how to describe it.
I think that, well, first of all, your feelings are valid. I want to acknowledge that first.
Thanks.
I have two thoughts. So my pre-Australia life, so back like when we lived in Arizona when Cooper was around, I definitely felt that I would never talk about the hard stuff. I did hide that sort of thing. When we moved down here, the chunk of my friends that we started with, again, my friends Seb and Britt, they live in Sydney, and our other friends, Meg and Joe, they live in Jarvis Bay. When they first came down to our house to stay with us, I was very much like trying to make Cooper this perfect little angel, doing all these things, always apologizing for him, anything he was doing, he was adjusting, and I wasn't giving Cooper the grace I should have been. I was more apologizing to my friends that we weren't the same friends we were pre-Cooper. My identity as a friend was shifted then, and they had not, because again, we lived in Arizona when Cooper was born, and they hadn't seen my role as a mom, so my identity as a friend did shift now. So the first time that they came down, I was definitely apologetic of anything Cooper did. I was like not enjoying myself. I stepped back and I said, well, this is actually who I am now. I have a child. I'm proud of my child, and I'm proud of who I am as a mom. I'm doing a good job at being a mom. I'm going through myself a lot of changes. Moving across the world with a child is hard, and making new friends in this area is hard. And instead of pretending that I was okay and that everything was fine and Cooper was this, I should have just said, this is hard, and I just want you guys around me. And so they've now come down over 5 times, and every time they see like the real part, and they see like, yeah, we have to get a babysitter if we want to go out to the pub, or yeah, you know what, Cooper goes to bed at 7:30, so like that means we can't stay out late. But if you want to come to our house, Cooper's part of it now. And instead of lying and pretending, they've now embraced it, and we get invited to their house, they get invited to our house. We're like, they're coming down for Christmas, like our friendship will never change. They all want kids. And so it's like, it's kind of fun to see that you guys are able to handle life with Cooper and still have fun, but also have boundaries to protect my kid. Because now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, we can't stay out too much longer because my child's hungry, and Cooper's been a trooper, but this is like a choice Chase and I made to have a kid. And it's like with my friend Britt, we got back to the house and she immediately opened the cupboard, started making pasta for him. And while I was just changing his diaper, came back out, and she was almost done with his dinner, and she's like, sit down, I poured you wine. And like, I think for you, Alaina, like sharing, I want her friends, for me. She's great. Oh, she's just the best. But I think sharing with your friends, that part of you could also open up some doors for you to like be closer, because like I said, I definitely, the first time they came down, I wasn't as truthful as I should have been. I was going through a hard time with my relationship, the move, the parenthood, Cooper, all these things, and I wanted this perfect life to be what it was. In January, we'd only been there 6 weeks. We were 2 weeks in our house, and we were like already hosting people, which is nuts to think about. And so I'm glad I was honest and reflected, and then said the truth and said, well, this is kind of me, and like Cooper's a package deal now, and I hope you still love us. And of course that conversation never had to be happen in that direct tone. I just was like, when the next time we spent time together, I was less like fake about things, and they still keep coming. So clearly we haven't scared them off. They all still want children, and they're still embracing us and love us. And I mean, so for example, last Saturday night, we went to my friend Joe's birthday dinner, and we brought Cooper up, and they wanted to go to like a nice fancy restaurant. And instead of inviting other friends who live in the area that have no children, they still invited us. And my friend Megan organized her mom to babysit Cooper. So like,
oh, that's
she
awesome.
acknowledged that like Cooper's a package deal, and instead of going, no, we'll just go do a cheap dinner and still have fun, she goes, no, we're gonna still do the dinner that we want to do as a group. My mom is gonna watch Cooper. Her mom came over 2 hours early, watched, like, kind of got used to Cooper, and we went out and had a great time. And so they embraced us. So my identity is just ever evolving and changing, and I love it, and I'm so thankful.
I think that's what it is, like the compromise and the understanding and like the two worlds colliding, especially if you have those friends from being like your pre-mom life and they've seen you being like who you were before being a mom. And so I think it's just like really interesting to have those friends fully acknowledge and like process and like see your life now and then adapt with you, right? Like adapt with you and your family, and like the friendship can grow from that. And it's not like I ever withhold information necessarily, like I won't lie, but it's just like, I don't know. I just, sometimes it's also, I'm picturing like friends maybe who don't live here, right? So maybe it's like text conversations or phone calls or whatever. And like, if they ask me, I get really excited if they ask about Chloe or like what's going on. But yeah, I think like I just need to kind of like have your story and your example just be kind of inspiration and motivation for me that like, it's okay. And guess what? If it's not okay with those friends, which it is, it's fine. But like,
you know that already, but
yeah. But if it's not, then bye, because this is my life and like, this is what I want and love. And so I think that's essentially our identities. I think we've like
wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Put a pin in this for
I
now,
like who we are.
Me too. I am. And I think it's a cool thing. They say people, when you hit their 30s or 35 or whatever, you hit this midlife crisis of who am I? And if you're a mom, that crisis hits even more. And who knows, I could get there in 2 years, or, you know, like, look, life is ever changing, as we've mentioned, but I like who I am now. And I am thankful for us. And I'm thankful like to have people in our lives who appreciate us. I don't feel like I have to be fake around anyone. I don't feel like there's anyone where I have to put on a show more so than others. My house somehow down here has become the house where everyone wants to have parties. And I'm real, like on Halloween, I said, you guys can come in, but I didn't have time to fully tidy up the house because I worked today. And instead of going like, ooh, she left out this, that, and the other on the ground or whatever, like it was so easy. People come in, open the cupboards up, know where my glasses are. And I like that part of me. And I like that they acknowledge that, you know, Peyton and Chase's house is warm and inviting and that sort of thing. And I identify with friendships, and that's a big cup filler for me. And Cooper's now part of my life, and my friendships can change and go, but he's kind of stuck with us. So I like that part of myself, and I'm never going to change or pretend that I'm not someone who isn't a mom, but I also like to be someone who's myself too.
Yeah. Well said. That's it. I love it. I couldn't agree more.
With me. Thanks for letting me ramble.
Always. Same here. Especially thanks for dealing with my cough, everyone. I hope it's not like so annoying. So annoying for me. I'm over it. Make it go away. Let me just take a puff and a little swig of my cough syrup. No worries.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't make me laugh and cough.
No lean for Alaina.
Hey, at least I get to sleep tonight. I'm so psyched. I haven't been sleeping like for a week.
Good.
Well, yay.
All right, friend. Well, thanks for that. And thanks for listening to this week's episode. We haven't mentioned it lately, but if you guys give us a like and follow on our podcast and a 5-star rating, that's kind of how we keep growing and our audience kind of keeps getting shared. You can send it to other people. We also are on Instagram at Mom Meets World Podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yes. Okay, bye.
Bye. All right. Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of Mom Meets World. If you enjoyed listening, please give us a like, subscribe, and find us on Instagram at Mom Meets World Pod.
Because sometimes you just need another mom to remind you that you're getting it right more than you're getting it wrong. See you next time.